Hey guys. Informed consent, in case anyone doesn't know, it's functioning under the assumption that you should be able to make your own choices about your medical treatment and about HRT and things like that. It varies a little bit, but it's like they present you with paperwork, they explain the risks and the potential side effects, and then you say, yes, I understand, I still want to do it, and you can sign some paperwork. It's basically like waiving liability, and then they'll prescribe you tea. Whereas under other circumstances, under, I think it's called WPATH or something, where you have to go to a therapist and then talk and get diagnosed with gender identity disorder, basically then they will recommend you / prescribe you to go to an endocrinologist, and then the endocrinologist will do your blood work and prescribe you testosterone and then monitor all that through the process. I'm not really sure why. I don't know, it just seemed easier to do the informed consent model. And also I get my hackles up a little bit about the whole medical gatekeeping thing. Like, I know some people think it's a good idea and that it makes sure that people don't like jump into things head first and then regret their decisions later. And I know that there are some people who have regretted their decisions because they didn't have the right support system and they didn't have whatever they needed in order to really figure out what they wanted. But at the same time, it's very infantilizing, and it bothers me that it's basically like you can't make the decisions about your body for yourself. I got issues with it, but that's another video for another time. Some things I'm worried about. So, about the appointment. One of the things they're doing with the blood work is they're just checking like my liver, I guess. I'm not really entirely sure what they're checking for, because they were not originally going to check my T levels. They weren't going to check my hormone levels, and that didn't surprise me. I was prepared for that because someone else that was talking about it mentioned that happened to him too, which is a little weird because I feel like if you're going to be prescribing someone hormone replacement therapy, you should know what their baseline is so that you can give them the correct dose, which is what's concerning me, because it's like she basically explained that they don't usually monitor that. They will if I ask them to, but I'm really worried that the way that she put it makes it sound a lot like they're gonna let me control my own dosage and be fully responsible for all of that. Whereas, like, if you were going to an endocrinologist, they would prescribe you a certain dose. They would check your T levels and figure all that out and then decide when to raise your dose and stuff like that, which I would actually be more comfortable with, because I don't know how to interpret the blood work they're doing. You know, it's not... So, I'm not really psyched about that. I'm a little stressed about it. I'm gonna talk to them about it when I go back and find out how that's gonna work. And if that ends up being the case, I might bite the bullet and try to find a local endocrinologist that I can start going to instead, who can be more of a partner in that aspect, because I don't want to have to do this by myself, because I feel like I'll fuck something up, you know? Like, I'm grateful that they're basically willing to let you deal with it yourself. I guess I should have seen that coming, with informed consent being what it is, and maybe this is one of the reasons why people have issues with Planned Parenthood doing informed consent. But I feel like there's a difference between like transmedicalism and like medical gatekeeping and like the complete opposite hands-off approach of like, yeah, here's your stuff. You're on your own. You know, I don't want to be on my own. I don't want to be responsible for figuring out my dosage and shit like that. That's frightening, especially since, you know, you have to be, I don't want to say like careful, but you do kind of have to be careful when it comes to HRT, because, for example, if your T levels are too high, you can end up with it converting into estrogen and doing the exact opposite of what you want. I almost feel like, man, if I wanted to go the route where like I'm totally in charge of the dose and totally in charge of deciding when and how to do everything, I would just buy it online and do it like that. It feels really risky. Like, at least they're doing blood work, but if they're not doing blood work to interpret my T levels, then I don't. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I misunderstood and they just don't do a baseline, but they monitor T levels afterwards. But I'm gonna have to talk to them and find out, because it's really concerning to me. That's very deeply concerning. That's pretty much it. Honestly, that's my big worry. Other than that, the appointment, I mean, even with that, like, there was nothing unpleasant about the way that they told me that. And, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's some worries, but I think it'll go okay, one way or another. I'm not freaking out about it or anything. I'm gonna make another video about pre-T concerns, because I've talked a lot so far about, like, my vocal anxieties and my worries about how testosterone will affect my voice, but I want to do an entire video about, like, the worries that I've had about T in general, in more ways than just my voice. And it took me a long time to decide what I was going to do finally, like, really, really make up my mind. But that's going to be its own video. I think that's it. As always, thanks for listening.